My second story about heroes has to do with my mother. Now, my mother, as I've told you in some of my other stories, looks just like this. I mean, this is my mother's face. I also have my mother's body. I mean, she is 5 foot nothing. I'm 5 foot 1 3/4, so I'm not 5 foot nothing, but I'm pretty close to my mother's height. So my mother was a short woman, but she was a very powerful woman, and she knew how to get things done. As I told you in my laundry story, she knew how to just line us up just like a drill sergeant and get things done. So it wasn't unusual for her to know how to do several things. This is dealing in the summer again, a really hot day in the summer. At that time, we had 2 dogs, and they were both German Shepherds. I don't recall where we got them from, but they were the most beautiful dogs. One was a female, the other was a male. Female's name was Queenie, and the male's name was Coach. These 2 dogs protected us and protected the property, the house, and everything like you wouldn't believe. You could always tell when something was coming up. You'd hear their little growl, and then you'd hear the barking and so forth. No one came in our yard without Queenie and Coach, making sure it was okay and taking care of business. Well, one summer we were all in the house doing chores and doing stuff, and we heard this ruckus outside. I mean, it was like these dogs were tearing something up. And so the ones I remember being around was my mom, my brother Bert. Randy is what some of you will know him by, but we called him Bert. My sister Sherry, and I think my sister Barbara was around. We all go running towards the front door. We see the female dog, Queenie, go around the house real quick, just zoom, just right out of sight. And then we look up the road a little bit to the north, and we see Coach and what we think is another dog just going at it. I mean, just tearing each other apart. It was awful to see. You could see the fur flying and everything. And my mom looks at my brother Bert and says, "Get your daddy's shotgun." Now, here's something that I think is interesting. I grew up around guns, okay? I have no problem with guns and so forth. But here's the difference between then and now. We never touched the guns unless we were told to. Never. From the time we were tiny to the time that we were grown-up people, we were told, do not touch daddy's guns unless somebody tells you to. And we never did. That's a sign of respect for your parents that I think is long gone in today's world. Too many kids are touching guns. That's a whole nother story, but I just wanted to put that in there, is that we never touched the guns unless we were told to, and we knew where they were. Just like a lot of people back in those days, Daddy kept 2 shotguns right above the bed with the bullets, the shot, right there on the shelf next to it. So we knew where it all was. We just never touched it. We even knew where his handgun was and the ammunition that went with it. Never touched it until we were told to. Now, Daddy had shown the boys, for instance, exactly how to use the gun. And we all knew. We would watch him when he would clean the gun and load the gun and so forth. So we knew how to do that. Mom had told Bert, go get the gun. So Bert goes and gets the gun. He's got it cocked, got the ammunition in it, the shot in it, and so forth. And he thinks he's getting ready to shoot whatever is up there. And Mom says, give me the gun. So I'm thinking, I've never seen my mom handle the gun. I've never seen my mom shoot a gun. So I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what is she doing? Let Bert shoot. Let Bert shoot. Because by this time, we know that's not another dog that's tearing up our Coach. It's a skunk. Now, this is something I have not seen since that day. Skunks are usually the size of a small dog or a large cat. This skunk was as big as that German Shepherd. It was huge. It's what they call a tom. That means a very big male skunk. And it was tearing our German Shepherd apart. I mean, it just, blood, everything. It was just the most awful sight you ever saw. All of a sudden, it kind of ends for a minute. It gets real quiet. And the skunk kind of rears up on its back legs. I mean, it was the weirdest looking thing. And it's growling, kind of cutting at the German Shepherd, which is now down on the ground, flat out, just kind of heaving a little bit. My mom steps out on the porch into the front yard takes aim and shoots that skunk dead. I mean, one shot, it's out. She turns and she tells us, get back in the house. I don't want you going anywhere up there. Now she goes back in the house and she picks up the phone. Remember, we've got a party line. So that means everybody, when you pick up the phone, is listening to your conversation. And she calls my dad's boss, at least the house, my dad's boss, and says, I need Floyd to come home. We've had a little situation with a skunk, and it's a bad skunk. Now, what she was meaning by that was that it was rabid. So she knew that this had to be handled in the right way so that no one would get infected and messed with this bad skunk. So she hangs up the phone. By the time she hangs up the phone, because it's a party line, somebody else was listening, some of the men in Texola that were home were on their way down. You could hear the trucks coming and the tires squealing and everything. And they come up on the porch and they're like, Sarah, what's going on? And Mom points up the road. And they said, we'll take care of it. Don't worry about it. Well, Mom still has a shotgun, and she says to Bert, come with me. And she goes around to where Queenie, our female dog, had gone around to see what was going on with them. And, of course, we run to the bedroom, look out the window to see what's going on. Poor Queenie, she's okay, but she is shivering underneath the garage area. There's an area underneath it. It was kind of up on stones and rocks, and so you could kind of get under it. And she was just shivering. One, she heard all that racket up there, and two, she didn't like guns. None of our dogs like guns. If you fired a gun, it scared them and so forth. So Bert and Mom was easing Queenie out and actually brought her in the house, which was unusual because we didn't usually have the dogs in the house. But these men went up, and it was interesting because I think it was Steve Hogg or his father, the man that owned the grocery store up there. He took out his handgun and he shot twice more. So I guess that skunk wasn't quite dead, but he shot twice more. And then they threw some blankets or canvas or something over these animals and picked them up. By the time my dad got to the house, which was probably 30 minutes at least, maybe a little bit longer, he had seen what was going on, and he and Bert went back up on the road, and with some dirt, they covered up the bloody area on the street. We cried for days because we loved that dog, and that dog was just doing what came naturally, protecting our household, our family. But I'll never forget, I was so proud of my mother. Like I said, I'd never seen my mom shoot a gun. Found out later, my mom knew how to shoot a gun just fine because she and Dad, that's how they used to get food for supper. They'd go out and shoot rabbits and quail and so forth. And so she knew perfectly how to shoot a gun. But those are the sort of things that I think that's very heroic. For my mother, little 5'0" woman, step out there, shoot that gun, and I don't recall it even knocking her back. I mean, she just laid into it and shot, brought that skunk down. So, you know that when skunks are out in the daytime and they're behaving like that, they probably got rabies. So please beware of skunks and so forth. But that's the story of my heroic mother and the skunk. Thank you.